Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for our L&I updates for the construction industry webinar. My name is Ronnie Holder-Diefenbach, and I am the Executive Director for the Okanagan County Economic Alliance. Our organization is also the Small Business Development Center and the Small Business Resource and Tech Center for Okanagan County in our area. All of our programs, workshops, and services are free and confidential and offered to all of our Okanagan County businesses across industry. In today's webinar, you will hear from 4 great speakers who are excited to share with you some updates that will impact the construction industry. They hope that you will take something from this workshop that will help you and your business. I will let each of them introduce themselves now in the order that they will be presenting. Julie?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Julie Prowlis, and I work in the Fraud Prevention Labor Standards Program for the Department of Labor and Industries under the Contractor Registration Unit for the Outreach, Training, and Education Program. And part of my group, I've been with Labor and Industries over 7 years doing outreach and really enjoy it. We do everything from working with the public as far as doing home shows and letting them know that they are to use registered contractors and help themselves, protect themselves regarding the underground economy of unregistered contractors. We also provide education for our contractors and in an event called Contractor Training Day, which I will also be part of my presentation. Ready to get started.
All right, thank you. Eric?
Eric Smith. I'm Safety Technical Specialist for Labor and Industries Division of Occupational Safety and Health. My role is the application and interpretation of the Washington Administrative Code as it applies to, not all of it, part of construction, rule writing, policy, and some outreach activities.
All right, Mitch.
Good afternoon. My name is Mitch Reffitt. I'm a safety consultant. I'm located in the Moses Lake office, part of DOSH as well, and just going to have a short chat about safety consultation and kind of the benefits that we offer and how we work with you. And we're here to help you with anything you need when it comes to the safety of your business.
Thank you. And Amanda.
Hi, thank you. My name's Amanda Matz. I work in the Division of Occupational Safety and Health in the consultation. Hi, with Mitch, and I do risk management consultations with employers where we help employers understand the connection between safe workplaces and lower premiums. So I look forward to talking with you guys more later. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you guys for joining us. We're really excited. So we're going to let our presenters each go through and complete the presentations that they have prepared for today. And in the last 15 minutes, we'll open it up to questions. As we go through the presentations, you can also add your questions to the chat. And then at the end, I'll facilitate those discussions to the appropriate presenter. And then finally, if everyone can sign into the chat with your name and business, I would appreciate it. So Julie, I will turn it over to you.
Great, thanks, Ronnie. Well, like I stated earlier, I'm with the Fraud Prevention Labor in Olympia. Sorry about that. I am located in Olympia, but like I stated, we travel throughout the state with our program, and also attend all the home shows, or most of the home shows in the state. So right now we're currently very active with that right now, with spring coming around the corner. And I'm actually in the Tri-Cities now, getting ready for a home show. So I wanted to share with you my presentation for a couple of items that we deal with as far as contractor registration. The first one is in regards to advertising. You must include your registration number on every.
Hi, Julie.
Hello. You must include your registration on your number on every advertising or solicitation you hand out to your customers. That includes business cards, bid sheets, flyers, newspaper ads, door hangers, and lawn signs. The only exception to this is your vehicles or permanent place of business. So for instance, if you do your business from your home, you don't necessarily have to put a sign on your home indicating that with your registration number. With today's way of design and new ideas and so forth. You can have like the magnetic decals on your vehicles, where you can definitely provide your registration number. It is a good thing for the public to see. That way they are reassured there is a number that they can check on. So if they want to do business with you, it gives them an opportunity to look over your registration information before actually contacting you. So that would be something good to do. Changes as of September 2011, all wall certificates are issued instead of wallet cards for contractors. Plumbers and electricians will still receive wallet cards and should carry them with their ID at all times while on their job site. That's regarding advertising as a contractor. Disclosure statements is another topic we'd like to talk about. Disclosure statements must be given to the customer prior to beginning work, and must be substantially in the same form as provided in the statutes. A sample of the disclosure statement is shown here, and I'll show it here in a couple of slides. And also, to let you know, we also have a contractor training. We have a contractor training day event where we have that particular form available in a tab, and I'll show that to you here in a bit. The model disclosure statements are fillable online. Contractors are required to provide the homeowner with a disclosure statement, and if they don't pay for some reason, well, let me back that up a little bit. I apologize. Contractors are required to provide the homeowner with a disclosure statement, and if they don't pay you for some reason and you don't provide the form, you lose the right to lien on their property. The disclosure statement also requires you as a contractor to provide additional information about liens and lien releases if requested. If you need any assistance with that, we can help you with that as well. You can also be fined up to $5,000 for not providing a disclosure lien, and the first offense is $500. So this is what the disclosure statement looks like here on the next slide. And that way you can see it is a fillable form that it can be downloaded, and you can have copies of them as well. But this is what you fill out for your customers regarding the disclosure statement. And like I stated earlier, if this isn't provided to your customer and your customer does not pay you for some reason, you lose that possibility of filing a lien because of the fact that you didn't provide this to your customer. So like I stated earlier, we do contractor training day events, which we happen to have one ready around the corner in the Wenatchee area. So we will be in Wenatchee on Friday, March 17th with our contractor training day event. And this here gives you an idea of how to get to it on our website. And this is what it looks like on our website on the next slide. Next slide, please. So here on our website, you'll be able to see what the registration looks like, what dates to go for, and then it'll have a little place to sign in. And on the next slide is what the registration form actually looks like. So if you are on our listserv, this is what we will send to you, letting you know that we're in the area or close to your area, providing an event. This event, we do anywhere from 20 to 25 different class topics to choose from. So it's available for everybody and anybody in construction. So if you're just starting out, it's a great opportunity to learn what's required in Washington State. If you've been in business for a little bit and are growing to the point where you need to hire employees, it's also a good shift there to find out what the responsibilities are of having employees in Washington. And it's also for the seasonal contractors, so that if any changes have happened, in changes in rules and regulations and so forth, here's an opportunity to get updates and so forth. So we do have other agencies that help us out with this event. So for instance, Department of Revenue participates with us because all businesses are required to pay taxes and so forth. So it gives you an opportunity to learn about taxes, as well as most of our programs in L&I, from safety to everything you want to know about your L&I account, managing claims, return to work. All these different programs also help and participate with this event, so that we give an opportunity for contractors to know what's available to them as far as services with L&I. We also have other agencies like UTC with the DIG law, the Department of Commerce with lead-based paint. And we also have attorneys and other associations that help us out in providing information that's required to do business in Washington. So it's a great all-around place to have an opportunity to learn things in a day's type of event. So like I stated, it's about 20 classes. Everybody doesn't get a chance to take all 20 classes, but it gives you 5 different opportunities if you stay with us all day to choose from different classes to take in different time slots, like it shows here on the form. And like I stated, we will be in Wenatchee on Friday, March 17th. We would love to see all of you there if you're able to come. Or if you know anybody that is interested in attending, by all means, share this with them, or they can contact our office. Our phone number, our QR code is there. That QR code will take you directly to the online registration form to fill out. But like I stated, there's our email and phone number. You can give us a call if there's any questions. Another big thing we like to push is language access. So if there's an interpreter needed, either in Spanish or any other language, giving us a good couple weeks heads up will get us an opportunity to get a interpreter for you for the day of the event. And then my last slide is my information with my name, my email address, and phone number where I can be reached. If you have any questions regarding any type of training, I'm a good connection. If our program doesn't provide the training and our agency does, I can definitely get you in contact with the right program for that. And with that, I'm pretty much done with my part of the presentation.
So I'm sorry to all of a sudden I've had like 3 people who are coming in that have like spammed. So I apologize that I was not necessarily following you. So I've been removing people as it's been popping up, and I've never had this ever happen before in any of my webinars that I've done. So I apologize for that I wasn't on your right slide. And I want everybody to know that we will be sending these slides out to everybody as after the event. So thank you for your patience during that time. Eric, you are up.
All right, I didn't put together a slideshow. I just like to use the web pages we have them, so I have to kind of flap back and forth between some, but that's all right. Trying to move some of the stuff around. Get used to using Teams, and then you go back to Zoom, and then you go back to Teams again. So we know with fall protection, we updated that standard in 2020, and at that time, DOSH management made the decision to not address all of the issues. Since then, they've decided to address more of those. So we did make a change in November 2022. This is last November, and it had to do with fall protection on roofing work on low-pitched roofs and constructing the leading edge. And we can show you, let's see, the final adopted language. I think everyone can see that. And primarily, this standard doesn't, this page here doesn't show the entire standard, it only shows those affected sections. There are some changes like 15 to 15. Why did we do that? Well, that's what the code revisor's office wanted. So there you go. Previously, we went 15 to 15. That's 15 to 15. Hey, you just make that change and move forward. So primarily for construction, we're looking at the safety watch system was previously used for repair work and service equipment. OSHA's concern was they don't have that same provision for construction, so we essentially couldn't have it either. So that provision for a safety watch. Sorry, I have to do something else here. Is limited to work other than construction work. So it might still apply if you're a construction employer, but it won't apply to construction work by definition. And like I said, that is defined in the standard. Primarily under construction work is the bigger change for roofing work on low pitched roof and constructing a leading edge. Those both went from 10 feet to 6 feet. And then we still have 10 feet or more for the erection or replacement of structural members and engage in excavation and trenching operations. So for construction, you could fall under 4 feet. 6 feet for roofing on low pitched or constructing leading edge, or 10 feet for erection replacement of structural members. That's the most recent change. There are a few small other changes within that, but those would primarily be limited to activities that wouldn't be construction work. One other provision that's in there is there is an exception from fall protection. It's important to note that it doesn't apply to construction work. It'll only apply to work other than construction work, and it's pretty limited to service equipment on low pitched roofs, 15 feet or more from an edge. It won't apply to frequent or essentially frequent inspections or times when someone's on a roof. It's a very limited exception. It's important to note what that is and where it applies. It doesn't apply to construction work. It could apply to maintenance, or I can zoom that in a little bit there. Sorry. It looks bigger on my large screen. Sorry about that. So there's that exception. And the important part of that exception is it does not apply to construction work by definition. So if you're doing construction work, modifying a building in any way, adding a new one, that provision won't apply. Okay, but like I said, it is essentially a general industry, a fixed industry exception. It's the same thing that federal OSHA adopted in their 1910 general industry standard. They don't have it in construction. So in construction, there is no distance from an unprotected side or edge where fall protection wouldn't be necessary. In a fixed industry situation, there are times when it may be because there is no exposure. Okay. The main change for fall protection, roofing work on low pitched roof and constructing leading edge going to 6 feet. For excavation, a couple of years ago, we started working on a rulemaking project to update some of the excavation standard to address rescue. We've had a number of issues throughout from 2016 until fairly recently. I guess it was October of last year, maybe. We had some fatalities, and the ability to get those workers out of those trenches was in question. So management wanted to address more adequately address rescue, and that rescue is available. Either the employer provides it or get it from somebody else, essentially. Then also planning. The current excavation standards have been in place in Washington State since 1991, which basically adopted all of the OSHA standard that was adopted in 1989, saying that because it's been a long time. But we still had quite a few issues, especially if you've been following that most recent news release that came out the day before yesterday regarding fatals. So we have been working on some rulemaking there to address those things, and the discussion drafts are all available on the internet, on our webpage, State and Health Rules, and under rulemaking. And in that draft talks about what we're looking at doing. And this is at the CR 101 stage, and what that means is it's a pre-proposal. CR 102 is the next step, which would be proposal, and then 103 is adopted language. 105 is expedited. So some of the, for example, some of the COVID stuff we had was expedited 105. Each of the CR 101, 102, 103 satisfies a different part of the Regulatory Fairness Act, Administrative Procedures Act, all that. That's why we call them what they are. So what are we looking at changing in the excavation standard Part N? Again, this is at the pre-proposal stage for 2 years. We're looking at adding in the definition of emergency. And over here, you can see, let me zoom in a little bit. Sometimes I forget where I am. So add in a definition of emergency, what it is. It's always important for everyone to be on the same page with the term and definition, because we might get different dictionaries. So what we're looking at doing, and then also where that provision came from. Okay, where do we get the definition of emergency? We didn't just make it up. We came up with it from largely the confined space standards, both federal OSHA's and ours. Adding in rescue. And again, that came from the confined space standards and the dictionary, go figure. And then nothing else is changing in Part N until we get down to number 13. So we can see we have strike through here, old language, we've moved on from that. So number 13 is a provision that would apply to every excavation where there's an employee or an employee is in it. You must plan for and provide or make arrangements in advance with locally available services to provide prompt, safe removal or rescue of employees in the event of an emergency. And we go back to emergency to determine what that is. Could be a cave-in, it could be a broken water line, gas line, could be a lot of things, right? So any emergency, the employer has to plan for and provide. That doesn't mean that you have to call 911 or you have to call the fire department and they have to be at the ready. That isn't what that means. Make arrangements in advance. You can either do it yourself as an employer and have policies in place, or if you rely on 911, you have to communicate with them first. Is it something that they can even do? If you're down 20 feet in a trench and you call 911 for local volunteer fire department, they may not be able to help. So the employer would need to know what the steps are going to be to remove or rescue those individuals if they're in there. And there really isn't new language. It's in other parts of Chapter 155 which already apply. In Part A, ensure prompt, safe removal has already been there since the 1970s. And under Accident Prevention Program, it does have emergencies for the employer has to have in their program already proper actions to take in the event of an emergency. I think we would all agree that a cave-in is an emergency. Yeah, so it's largely already there, only we're making it more specific to trenches and excavations. So this number 13 applies to both trenches and excavations, all excavations. Okay, a trench is a specific type of excavation. And number 14 we're looking at doing is a specific provision for trench excavations that's specifically defined in the standard. It's a type of excavation. Doesn't apply to all excavations. So if you imagine yourself in the room that you're in, imagine it's 8 feet under the ground, that would be an excavation. A trench is a narrow excavation in relation to its length, no more than 15 feet wide at the base. Why does the standard differentiate between the two? Because if you imagine in that room, you can get away from those vertical faces, those vertical walls. So proximity to the hazard and ability to escape. In a trench that's 18 inches or 2 feet wide, you're directly next to the hazard of that vertical face, and your ability to escape is limited to maybe one way or another. The standard differentiates between those already because the hazard is a bit different. Okay, so this would apply to any trench excavation where a protective system is required under the standard. And the standard right now requires a protective system in all excavations 4 feet or more in depth. There is no exception from that strategic pause, right? Question I had yesterday. So formerly a compliance inspector and seeing a lot of inspections and being involved in fatalities. A lot of times we get the competent person, we're interviewing them out there, or gets further along. The competent person states, well, what am I supposed to do? Or the employer says, well, how are we supposed to do it? Well, standards have been in place for a long time. So the idea was to help an employer and a competent person figure out what it is that they're supposed to do. Is we've come up with the idea of an excavation work plan to plan those items out, describe, identify how they're going to protect workers in those excavations before they go in. Just like the fall protection work plan is intended to do. Now, all of these provisions, which we can see, I have all of the notes over here, those are already requirements in the standard. Only thing that we're asking you to do is describe the type of soil. Describe the type of protective system that you're going to use: slope, bench, shore, shield. Describe method of protection for employees from cave-ins. All of those things are already requirements of the standard. It isn't written that way as a describe or some sort of an action term, a verb, but the employer is already required to do these things. We're just looking at in writing to help that competent person to understand what they're supposed to do, and the employer what they're supposed to do, with hope of alleviating any future incidents. And surprisingly, a lot of the excavation community is, they're waiting for us to get this done because they want it. One thing that differentiates the plan for trenches from an excavation is under number 13 above, we still have describe actions to take in the event of an emergency. But in here, we're asking the employer to describe actually what are you going to do in writing should there be an emergency. And those of you that are that know the standards now, this is basically copy paste from the confined space standard, chapter 809. We just tweaked confined space to trench, or cave in. So this is already there, and the reason why we do that is, if you close your eyes, you can think, yeah, a trench is a confined space, but we don't treat it as a confined space. We treat it as a trench. Part N 155 addresses specific hazards, cave-ins, water, hazardous atmospheres, all of those things. So if we called it a confined space, it'd essentially be duplicative, right? Plus, we would need data to be able to show. But so again, this is copy paste from chapter 809, applying those same confined space ideas to a trench. And essentially there's 4 things. You have to describe your procedures for contacting rescue and emergency services. Now, that doesn't mean that the fire department has to be sitting right there. I would hope that we don't need fire department sitting right there. If that's the case, then perhaps you should be doing something completely different. But how are they going to contact emergency rescue services? Who is going to contact them? Do you have cell service? Do you need to go down to the road to let them in at the gate? Or are you going to take them there yourself? How? Or who does it, right? Removing or rescuing workers from excavations. If 911 isn't available or delayed, the employer needs to have procedures for removing or rescuing those workers. So removing could be an injured worker. So maybe a worker's at the bottom of an 18-foot trench and breaks an ankle. Yeah, how are you going to get them out? The standard already requires you to determine how you're going to get them out. If there's a cave-in, then the employer will need to determine how are they going to do it. And that was part of the problem with some of the fatals that we've had recently. Providing necessary emergency services. So again, that doesn't mean that 911 is sitting right there. It just means that how are you going to provide the service? Are you going to call 911 and let them come to you? Are you going to take the worker to the hospital or to the gate? Or do you have to send somebody to the gate to get 911 up to that trench? So there's a lot of thought in there in how are you going to do it. Certainly if you're in the middle of, let's say you're in the middle of, I don't know, Division in Spokane. I haven't been over there in so long, I forget the names of the streets. Yeah, the fire department could be very close. But what if you're, out in the middle of nowhere along Highway 2? The same hazard exists, but those same things have to be thought through should there be a cave-in. And then also preventing unauthorized persons from attempting a rescue. That's the would-be rescuer. The wind farm we had that fatal, that was a would-be rescuer. And a lot of others are exposed. We've had multiple issues with that. So if the employer trains their people to do a rescue and enter an excavation trench safely, then that would be acceptable. If they aren't trained to do it and cannot do it safely, then the employer is required to prevent those workers from attempting a rescue. We've all heard of would-be rescuer. It applies to a tank or a vault, but also a trench. It's basically the same thing. And then prior to permitting employees into any trench excavation where a protective system is required, again, 4 feet or more, the employer would have to train the employees on the elements of this plan. And again, all of these things, with the exception of XV, are currently in Part N. It really isn't any different there other than you have to put in writing how you're going to do it. Okay. This is at the CR 101 stage. We should see so it's at the CR 101 stage. This is the current draft we're looking at. We're looking at a couple of potential edits to that. If there was any, it would be very minor. There should be a stakeholder meeting or two later in March. Hard to say, it's already March, possibly April, because it's been a while since we have done any. Had some questions day before yesterday and why this one is taking so long. It's kind of surprising that people actually want another rule, but hey, we've had COVID and a lot of other things. We also only have one economist. So anytime that we're changing the standard, we have the Regulatory Fairness Act, Administrative Procedures. So we have to do the economic analysis. The L&I as a whole only has one economist, and DOSH is a division of, so one person doing all of those rules. He's been going crazy. And given this is a department initiated rulemaking, it takes a back seat to anything that OSHA wants, federal OSHA wants. It takes a back seat to other rules such, that were petitioned to change, such as ambient outdoor heat exposure or wildfire smoke. Since we have a petition, we have to follow that, and we're just following the rules, right? So that's excavation rescue and excavation planning. And there's another page, I'll show you my contact. So under enforcement policies, back in 2018, federal OSHA came out with a trench excavation NEP, National Emphasis Program. It places emphasis on certain conditions or hazards, which are found to be becoming more and more prominent. So OSHA comes out with an enforcement NEP that directs their folks to how they're going to perform an inspection. And state plans, just like with the standard, like the rules, state plans have to adopt just as effective rules and policies. And this is a policy. So back in 2019, DOSH adopted part of this NEP, but they didn't adopt the whole thing. What they adopted was the recording. So in our computer program, there's a drop down screen, and you just code it trench, and that just gathers all the data so OSHA can sit there and, okay, all these inspections have happened. It's how our system communicates with federal OSHA. And they also adopted the provision for some of the outreach materials and attending some of the events. But they didn't adopt the whole thing. What do I mean by the whole thing? Well, it includes some enforcement policy, and this is as of January 25th of this year. DOSH management decided to adopt the remaining elements of that plan, and that remaining element, zoom in so we don't have to see everyone. So what that policy is compliance, safety, and health COSHOs shall initiate inspections under this NEP whenever they observe a trench or open excavation 4 feet or greater in depth, regardless of whether or not a violation is readily observed. So part of the reason why we didn't adopt that as a whole before was we have a lot of compliance officers in Washington State as compared to federal OSHA. And DOSH felt that we were already as effective as OSHA with this. A lot of times we already did this anyway. Adopting the NEP doesn't change a lot as far as what we do. But given some of the fatals that we've had recently, it was felt it was an important thing to adopt. I think there might have been pressure from OSHA too. So that's at NEP. We do have, we've had quite a few inspections initiated as a result. I know our consultation staff is doing a lot of work with that as well. And our education and outreach staff are also putting some stuff together to get out there. Nationwide, there's been a big increase in fatals from trench cave-ins and excavation cave-ins just in the last couple of years, like more than doubled. This is a new policy that came out, and our staff are working on that. DOSH Directive 30.30. And the last rule that I can talk with any depth on, so we're all kind of given different areas of expertise under cranes and rigging. That's partially initiated by federal OSHA. Some of it is rulemaking that DOSH wants to do. I can't talk a lot about the cranes rule because that's Bill Swaniker. He can give you his contact information, but a lot of times what we see, one thing, the bigger change is when employers are using a forklift like a crane, and some of that language will change. The draft that's on here is the old draft. I talked to Bill Sloniker a little while ago. It is the older one, so I don't want to show it to you because it might confuse. They're going to update that, so you can see Bill's information there. But essentially right now, if you're using a forklift like a crane, so you have a forklift and you're suspending a load from that. It's not a crane, it's kind of a forklift, right? So currently the operator of that forklift have to be trained under our Powered Industrial Truck Standard, Chapter 863. The rigger would have to be qualified under Chapter 155, Part F1 for rigging, right? They'd have to have a signal person under if they're working in the blind, and they would have to have a lift director under Part L. So there's a lot of elements to that. The problem that we've had with using forklifts as cranes is there's been a lot of them tipping over lately, not just here, but nationally. So they're changing that language essentially to incorporate any forklift that's used like a crane. That's the language that was used like a crane because a crane is defined. Any forklift that's used like a crane would fall under Chapter 155 Part L. So that would mean that the operator would have to be certified as a crane operator, not as a forklift operator, because you're using it like a crane. To have the lift director under Part L, the qualified rigger under Part L, and then signal person under Part L. So instead of having Chapter 863 Powered Industrial Trucks, then you would have it all under Part L for cranes. There are some other smaller changes. I would have to let Bill talk about those, but the forklift part seems to be the bigger issue. Like I say, a lot of that is related to the number of forklifts that are tipping over, not falling over, because that would infer they do it by themselves, right? We know they don't do that. And I do have, let me see if I can do this one. So some other ones, this is a semi-annual rules development agenda. And it comes from L&I. If you're on the Gov delivery email list, you'll get this, plus you get any standards that there's going to be a change on. You get some updates for those. We have a lot of rules in the department, and that's not why I'm bringing these up, but some others that could affect construction is wildfire smoke. Can't talk more than about that thick on it because it's not a rule that I'm working on. But they anticipated filing the CR 102. So right now it's in the pre-proposal stage, filing the 102 in March, probably going to be a little bit later than that, just because of the way things work, with anticipated filing for the 103, the adopted language, this July. Hopefully we won't have a fire season and it won't have to deal with that one, but that's one. Wildfire smoke was part of a petition that our industrial hygienists had to work on, and you will see some related stakeholder meetings for that pretty soon. Infectious disease, contagious disease, we know where that comes from. That was part of a Senate bill, HELSA. They're still working on that. There's a lot of to be determined there. So can't go too deep. You can sign up for that one and get some email updates on that. I believe that's John Stebbins working on that one. And then the trench rescue and excavation plan. Already touched base on those. Those are to be determined. Like I said, I have seen some tentative stakeholder dates of later in March or early in April already. Then cranes and rigging, those are to be determined also, both excavation and cranes and some others. They were pushed back because of COVID and some of the legislative rules that came in and some of the things that federal OSHA wanted. So they're not saying that they're less important, but it's like an order of operations, right? And then ambient heat exposure, that was part of a rule petition. And we can see the anticipated filing in February and June. This came out a while ago, assuming those dates are correct, but that's another one that could affect construction industry as well, especially on the east side. We know temperatures over there are usually a bit more hotter than over here. And then the rest of the stuff is just going to be different chapters that I don't have anything to do with and can't speak on. Does anyone have any questions about that stuff? No.
I think that it doesn't sound like there's any questions.
Okay.
All right.
All
Thanks,
right,
Eric.
Mitch.
I'll jump into it here. Talk about DOSH consultation a little bit. It's the best kept secret since the Roth IRA. But let me get this popped over here. Let's see. Are you guys seeing that slide show here? Everything's looking good. All right, I'm going to talk about consultation here. Hold on here. Let me see, I'm having a few issues here. Sorry about that. There we go. Okay, how's that look? You guys seeing DOSH right here? Sorry about that, Ronnie. Okay, so DOSH consultation. I say it's not a secret, but it's definitely a program that is very beneficial to employers. It's not everybody knows about it. It really is. If you look at the signs here, it really is a proactive approach. So not only proactive to helping prevent injuries with employees, but it's also proactive to helping you keep compliance, from not showing up for random visits. It's a little different in the construction industry because you're constantly changing. So one of the main benefits of DOSH consultation is that it gives you protection from random inspections. So with construction, like I mentioned, it's different, but if you do have a fixed shop and we do a consultation at that fixed shop, it would give you 12 months of protection from any random inspection. And consultation it's going to benefit you other than just that as far as compliance coming out. So we have 4 different disciplines, as we call them, with consultation. So safety, which I'm in, general safety, industrial hygiene, ergonomics, and risk management. Amanda's going to talk about risk management here in a sec. I'll kind of break down each one of them. So safety consultation, what I'm going to do is a lot of times I like to break the ice with people and kind of let them know, what's going to take place during a safety consultation. So I'm not sure if anyone's had consultation out or, if you've had compliance out. Consultation is a completely different animal. So the first thing we do on a visit, typically we're scheduled by the employer. So you would invite us out. I'll talk about how to schedule consultations here in a few slides, but the first thing we do is we have an opening conference where we sit down and we take a look at any written programs you may have. It says accident prevention program, but if lockout tagout programs, confined space, we'll look, especially in construction, make sure you have your heat stress, wildfire smoke. If those things are updated, we'll ask questions such as, do you have first trained personnel on site? Also, we'll take a look at safety meetings. And a lot of times people are comprehensive or apprehensive about not having consultation come out because they think that they're opening up the door to compliance, which it really isn't. It's actually, it's the opposite. It really does kind of shut doors, especially from random inspections. Construction is a little bit unique with job sites constantly changing. But and if you don't have programs we're going to jot that stuff down, and we're going to help you build those programs. So it's really, consultation is here to help you, whether you have the programs, to improve those programs. If you don't have the programs, then we're going to get you what you need to get you started and get those programs. And like I said, with the consultation visit, there's no monetary penalties. So if we do find hazards, we just jot them down. So we go through at the beginning of the visit with the opening conference, review your programs. The second part of a consultation is we do a walk around. So this walk around is led by the employer. So if you have somewhere you want us to really emphasize, or if you have questions on something, if we see something, as you do here in the picture, you know, we would ask that gentleman to come down off the ladder, and it might show us, you know, maybe this employer is lacking in, you know, proper use and inspection of a ladder. They don't have a fall protection program. And they need to work in those areas, and then we just work with you to kind of get started on those things. We'll also explain safety and health regulations. Eric mentioned the trenching and excavation emphasis that's going on right now. We're working a lot with excavation companies and construction companies to kind of stay ahead of compliance. So with that emphasis program, in the part that Eric highlighted, compliance is going to stop by if they see a trench that looks 4 foot in depth if they're driving by. So there's a pretty good chance, if you're in the business of excavation, that you're going to have a visit. And so what we want to do is we want to come out there before that happens on the consultation side, and we can check out your programs. We can make sure you have everything. So if that does happen, where they come out, you have everything in place. You can give them, you know, the card of the consultant you're working with, and you're gonna be sitting in pretty good shape. So every time we come out for a safety consultation, we typically will bring an industrial hygiene consultant with us. So industrial hygiene consultants, there's not too many chemicals, but there still can be in construction. But they specialize in chemical use and storage, confined spaces. I know, especially in excavation, if you're doing city work or, you know, working in manholes and things like that, confined space is a big one. You want to make sure you have your employees trained. You want to make sure you have the correct permits, your equipment's calibrated, and things like that. That's one of the areas they specialize in. They also do monitoring. So they look at, you know, noise exposure, and they can determine whether you have an area that may require hearing protection. And they can also come in and do noise monitoring free of charge. The same with air monitoring. So they might look at, you know, especially in construction, you might have a fab shop and you have someone who, you know, welds, you know, for the majority of the day. That could be, you know, their main part of their job description. You know, are they welding stainless steel? Is it mild? Galvanized? And, you know, what are the hazards associated with that, with the inhalation, and what safety prevention do you have in place for those things? Ergonomics consultation. So typically on a safety and health consultation, we try to kind of address any ergonomic issues we see. We do have 1 or 2 ergonomic consultations in the state of Washington. Typically when you get those tasks at your repetitive motions, believe it or not, strains and sprains are the most frequent cases of workers' comp claims. And it's just those nagging injuries. I grew up my whole life playing sports, and I've had, you know, a high ankle sprain, and sometimes those sprains can be almost worse than a break as far as pain goes and how long they kind of keep you down. And you can see this picture here of the construction worker here, which kind of shows a few of the common injuries. So your elbow, tennis elbow, shoulder injuries, lower back injuries, carpal tunnel, knee injuries. And construction workers are hard workers. You know, especially you guys up north, you want to make sure that you're doing things with the correct form so your body's good. So, you know, you can go hike 10 miles up in the woods and, you know, go take down an elk during hunting season. So it is important to look at those things, especially with younger individuals who, you know, like to lift heavy things and might not be thinking about their back in 10 years down the road. Very common question we get is, how do I schedule a consultation? So after this slide, I'm going to kind of show you the easiest way to schedule a consultation is just going to be to take down my information at the end or one of the other consultants' information, because I'll have the 3 consultants' information and phone numbers listed on the next slide. But I'm just, for purposes, I'm going to walk you through our website here. So this is the same website, www.lni.wa.gov, that Eric was on. So when you get to the home page, can you guys see my mouse here? So if you click on safety and health on the right-hand side where I have it highlighted, request a safety and health consultation with L&I pops up. You click on that and then it will prompt you and it'll have a form and it'll ask for some information to fill out. You don't have to fill everything out. We just ask that you put enough information in there so that we can contact you. But like I said, it's a lot easier to just call me or another consultant. We can schedule it. You don't have to go through the website and fill out this form, but this is how you do it. If for some reason you lose our contacts, there is a way on our website. So once you fill that out, that goes to the regional manager. He disperses it to the supervisor in whatever region it's in, and then that goes out to the safety consultants like me or Ty or Javier, who will have their contacts here in a sec. Another thing I want to go over here from the website is some of these tools we have here. So safety and health rules, that's going to show you, I believe there's, and correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, over 60,000 Washington administrative codes. So you click on this tab here, that'll take you to the Washington administrative codes, and probably, 155 would apply to almost everything and everybody here on this call. Safety topics. There's some great safety topics in here. If you need topics for toolbox talks or safety meetings, preventing injuries and illnesses. So let's say you don't have an accident prevention program, or you just started a business and you want some templates, and you need a lockout tagout program. All that stuff is here on our website. So the resources are here. It can be difficult to navigate, but I have my contact number on the end here, and you can call me and we can jump on the computer together and I can navigate you through the system to get whatever you need. Or I have most of this stuff saved on my computer. So once I'm working with an employer, I'll just, kind of shoot them over everything they need and help them get it filled out. My favorite tool on this one is safety training materials. So let's say you have, individuals that work for your company that have the previous training and experience in forklifts. So in here, we have complete forklift training kits. So you can do that training in-house if you have the individuals on site to do that. So you don't have to go hire, pay thousands of dollars to hire that out. A lot of people don't know that. Also, we have lockout tagout training kits in here. We have confined space training kits in here, but all sorts of good stuff. And like I said, if it's too confusing to navigate through all this, just call me. I can send you all this stuff over and we can go from there. But a lot of good stuff in here. So as I mentioned, I'm out of the Moses Lake office. Call me. My email will be on the last slide anytime. And if I don't get back to you within the same day, that's only because I'm either out on a consultation or, off and kids are sick or something, but I will get back to you. We also have Javier Valdez out of the Moses Lake office. He's bilingual. He has over 20 years of experience with the Department of Labor and Industries. And we also have Ty Poole out of the Kennewick office. So if you're up north and we can't get to you, Ty is always willing. He's from Kittitas County, grew up in Eastern Washington, great to work with. And this page here, so I'm going to send this to Ronnie when we get done, but it just has the links here. So if you wanted to click on, easy ways to get an accident prevention program template. Safety programs and plans, safety training. We have different trainings and videos online, safety topics, but there's a ton of good resources on our website. It's just finding a way to navigate through there. And that's what we're here for, is to help you get those resources. Any questions?
I think we'll hold off on questions until the end if we have
Okay.
them. So if you have them, please add them into the chat so that we can make sure we get through Amanda's presentation. Thank you, Mitch.
Yeah, thank you. Let's see. Am I still sharing here, Amanda?
You
Yes.
are.
All right.
And Amanda can't share
Oh,
until
here we
you're
go.
done.
I'm waiting patiently.
There it is.
Let me know if you guys see a slideshow here. Excellent. My name's Amanda. I work out of the Kennewick office in the consultation section, and I'm a risk manager. I work with employers directly to understand how injury prevention and creating a safe workplace will provide lower industrial insurance premiums, and to put those two together, that if there are less injury costs, then you're going to have less insurance costs that you pay to labor and industries. In a consultation, I would do some research on your company, and we would go through 5 key elements of a risk management consultation. We would talk about safety and current best practices. And I always ask employers, do you have an accident prevention program? More times than not, I get told no. So then I refer out to safety consultation, and you get to work with Mitch or Ty or Javier, and they work one-on-one with you to get the accident prevention program going and everything else that you need to keep your employees safe and within compliance with labor and industries. We talk about management's commitment to safety and what that looks like and why that's important. Different human resources, current best practices that you can do as an employer, including your new employee orientation and how to document those and when to document those. Claims management best practices, how to manage current or past claims that you have, and also your industrial insurance rates. We can talk about your current rates, different increase limitations, and then also the calculation periods. Really, any questions that you have that are related to labor and industries, I want to be there to help you out. And if I don't have the answer, I'm going to refer you to the right section within labor and industries. For industrial insurance premiums, all employers who have employees complete a business license application. On that application, you tell labor and industries what it is that you're going to be doing. Based off of that, we provide a risk class for your business. Every employer also has an experience factor. When you're new, you have a 1.0 experience factor, and after 3 years of time within the labor and industry system, you can grow an experience factor either higher than 1 or lower than 1, depending on injury costs that you have. So we take your risk class, experience factor, and hours reported, and that equals the premiums you pay quarterly to labor and industries. Here's an example of the framing risk class. If you were to report 20,000 hours in 2023, how much you would pay if you have a higher or a lower experience factor. Like I said, 1.0 is the average where everyone starts for that industry, and that's around $91,000 for those 20,000 hours. If you're a safer than average employer with lower injury costs, you could pay less. There's a huge difference between the 0.75 experience factor and the 1.5 experience factor, from $68,000 to $136,000. So keeping your claim costs low, bringing your workers back to work as soon as possible really has a big impact to the premiums you pay. Your experience factor is reevaluated every year. It can go up or down 25% per year, depending on the injury costs and the hours that you report in those risk classifications. I hear from a lot of employers and also employees that their employer has told them, if you're hurt, just go to the doctor, bring me the bill, I'll take care of it. There's really no advantage of doing that. It's illegal to do any type of claim suppression. And we have a medical only deduction for every claim that's filed for your business. If it's deemed a medical only claim, meaning no loss of earning power, time loss compensation, permanent partial disability payments, or death benefits, really anything paid to the worker or the worker's family, we're going to reduce the costs of that claim by $3,570. So most minor injuries aren't going to affect your experience factor rating at all. We also have a claims-free discount that's offered, and all small to mid-size employers can earn this claim-free discount. And you do that by having 3 years of medical-only claims, and you can earn either a 10 to a 40% discount. So that also is some huge savings by keeping your claim costs lower. Claims don't impact your experience factor immediately. They're based off of the date of injury from that claim. Right now, we're in fiscal year 2023. So anything filed in fiscal year 2023 will impact your rates for 2025, 2026, and 2027. We look at the claim costs as of June 1st prior to the rating year. So for 2025, we're looking at June 2024, all the costs that have been paid for your account for the 3 years that are within the rating period to come up with your calculation. I can provide proposed rates in October. If you are curious what your proposed rates are going to be for the following calendar year, reach out to me. I can get you those. How a claim starts: a worker's injured on the job and they seek medical treatment. Once they're there getting medical treatment, you'll complete a report of accident. The worker has a portion of it, the provider has a portion, and then you as the employer has a portion as well to complete to provide accurate information on wages and injury description to the department. Once the department receives it, we review claim validity, make sure that that claim has been timely filed. Was it filed within 1 year of the date of injury or 2 years for an occupational illness industry or repetitive motion claim? Did it occur during the course of employment? Does it meet the legal definition of an injury? And is it a casual relationship determined by the doctor? There's some work you as the employer should do proactively before a claim happens. You want to create a written return to work policy or program. Make sure all your employees know how dedicated you are bringing them back to work as soon as possible once they're injured. Have a list of light duty jobs prepared. We have a team of workers at the early return to work section that are specialized in creating light duty jobs and these return to work policies, and can come up with creative ways to pivot people's work to fall within their light duty job restrictions. Create an injured worker toolkit. What that is it's a 3-page document that you can send with the injured worker when they're hurt to the doctor. It would include the accident report, a return to work letter to the doctor, letting them know how committed you are to returning to work and bringing that worker back to work as soon as possible. And then also light duty job descriptions that can be approved immediately so that there's no delay or time loss payments bringing that worker back to work if there's any light duty restrictions. You as the employer can also consider establishing a relationship with a medical provider. I hear up north there's not a lot of providers that are available or want to treat labor and industries workers, but if you know of some that do, establish a relationship, refer the worker to go to there rather than an emergency room visit for non-emergency care. Obviously go to the emergency room if it's needed or there's nowhere else that can go. There's a couple tools for employers where to find medical providers online. We have a directory to search for all doctors and providers that are listed as L&I providers. It's searchable by location. It's a pretty cool application where you could put your business address in there and it'll populate all of the providers who are within a certain range around your business. There's also centers for occupational health and education centers that they have health service coordinators that work with the provider, employers, labor and industries, and the injured worker to bring workers back to work as soon as possible. They're there to help bring down any barriers within the claim that are slowing the claim down. And there are COHEs, what we call them. They're in Central Washington. Confluence Health is one of them, and they have several locations in the north in Okanogan County. There's a contact number here at the bottom as well if you're having problems finding a provider. Send an email, call the phone number, reach out to me. I'm happy to help you look for providers. During the claim, some best practices that you as the employer can do, send that injured worker toolkit that you've created with the employee to take to the doctor, investigate the accident, correct any hazards. We don't want any other workers getting injured by the same hazard. So take the time to investigate the accident, fix any hazards. And from there, you're left to manage the claim. Complete the employer's report of accident that we send you. You can do that in the Claim and Account Center. Stay in communication with your injured employee, the medical provider, and the claims manager. There's a common misconception out there that you as the employer aren't allowed to ask any questions of the provider or labor and industries on the claim. That's not true. There are HIPAA rules, but since this is your claim as well, you can ask questions as well to keep the claim moving on, bring the worker back to work sooner, anything that pertains to this claim. You can ask questions, and make sure you take the time to review all of labor and industries communications that are sent. We'll inundate you with mail that's due for you as the employer, the injured worker, and the provider. You get carbon copies on everything, but take the time and open the mail. Look for anything that's an order and notice or a payment order. On those, if you disagree with it, there is protest and appeal rights that you have as the employer. To submit a protest and appeal, it must be in writing and received with the department within 60 days of the date of communication. It's generally the date the letter was mailed for that 60-day timeline to start. The Claim and Account Center is a tool that we have for employers to review any claim information for claims that they have. You can view all documents that have come in and out of the claim, send secure messages to your claim manager, review the report of accident, complete the employer's report of accident, see what costs have been paid out on the claim at this point in time, or even find out when time loss checks are going to be sent so that you can help your worker have a better idea when that will happen. There's also this whole section for employer accounts where you can file quarterly reports, review trend and analysis tools, and review any employer image documents in there as well. I'm happy to help you get set up with Secure Access Washington and the Claim and Account Center if you don't already have an account. It's pretty easy. You just add a service for the Claim and Account Center to your SAW account, and I can help you with your business name, your PAC code, UBI, and account ID if you don't already have that information. We also have the Stay at Work program that's available to employers. The Stay at Work program is there to help bring injured workers back to work as soon as possible. And the workers will recover sooner when they come back to work. And it may also reduce the costs of your claim by bringing them back to work sooner by having less time loss or loss of earning power payments that happen. The Stay at Work program provides a financial incentive for eligible employers for medically approved light duty. What that means is any employer in Washington state that's state funded that has the doctor approving a light duty job description for their injured worker. You can be reimbursed 50% of base wages up to $10,000 or 66 days, $1,000 for formal training, $2,500 for tools or equipment, or $400 for necessary clothing. All of these are available to any Washington employer that has an injured worker with an approved light duty job description where they've brought them back to work rather than have them go on time loss. Maybe you're a roofer or you have someone who works out in the field and their light duty is requiring them to maybe work behind a computer, and you're going to have them be an estimator. Some training for computer could be used, or you could purchase a laptop with these funds. Anything is can be explored, but make sure you reach out to the Stay at Work program to see what the requirements and rules are for those reimbursements. Do I have any drywall contractors online today? Maybe not, but if you have any friends who are, we have discounted drywall rates that are available for employers who meet the requirements. To get that process started, reach out to your account manager and schedule a risk management consultation with myself or my coworker Yesenia. The discounted drywall rates are pretty substantial. They're about 40% discount there, which can save around $2 a square foot for every sheet of drywall that's hung and taped. Hopefully you use our Verify website. There's a lot of good information on there. If you're hiring subs or you're needing to provide your certificate of workers' compensation, all of that's available online on our public website. You'll click on the Verify a Contractor or Tradesperson's License link, enter in your UBI number, account ID, or business number, and then all the information for your business shows up. We can see if you're a licensed contractor, what your license number is and your expiration date. You can also find what your experience factor is, and other people can see what that is as well. That's kind of a taste of what a risk management consultation is. Of course, I take time and have more in-depth information that's specific to your business. But here in consultation, we're really here for you as the employer to help you any way that we can with safety and health inspections, industrial hygiene, risk management, and ergonomics. I just want to take time and thank you for your time today, and I appreciate it and hope I hear from you guys soon.
Thank you so much for all of you who took the time out of your busy schedules to participate in this training. Right now, we're at the time where we would have questions. So if anybody has any questions to the speakers, it would be now would be the time to ask. I do want to again apologize. I let a couple more people in, and then it kind of went crazy. And so I started not allowing anybody to come in. So I know that I probably had to screen out some of the ones that were probably signed up who are actual people who wanted to come in. But I just didn't want to put us in a situation where we could have any kind of crazy things happening again. So anyways, thank you guys. I appreciate you taking that time. I see there's probably 3 people here still that could potentially have questions. Anybody? Nobody?
I don't have a question, but a comment.
Yes.
Julie, you work in contractor registration and education and outreach. Has there been changes with plumber registration recently?
There has. There is a whole new form and a new process that they have to follow. And I know that the plumbing program has been heavily inundated with applications, processing them. They are a very small team, and they are inundated with questions and emails and voicemail messages. So they're getting better at it, but it's a process. But there is a new form, a new process, a new, I believe it's called a designated plumber application that also needs to be filled out as well as far as that plumbing packet.
Is that kind of like having an assigned administrator for electrical, but a designated plumber?
Similar, very similar
Okay.
to what the electrical program is going through. Hopefully there'll be something for us as staff, especially out in the service location areas with a little more information about that. But shoot me an email and I can definitely get get a meeting going or something that we can get that information available for you guys to have those tentacles out there for the public as well.
And when was the contractor training day? And those are in person in Wenatchee, right?
Correct. Our contractor training days we've had them for quite a while. They are in-person events, especially with us being in the pandemic. We had obviously stopped doing those for a while. And now that we have, webinars under our belt, people want to see if they could possibly do both. But unfortunately, when it comes to the live events, we need to separate the two because the learning style is much different, and bringing in virtualness into a live event is pretty complicated for everyone. So we do have webinars, especially for those that are of in-house type stuff, and those will continue even after the pandemic is officially completely over for all of us. So that's exciting that we'll still have those, and the different programs will have theirs as well, but we will definitely still continue ours. But the live events are pretty neat. I really like them. They are a little chaotic, but I love that about the job because it gives an opportunity for the public to meet the presenters and their areas of expertise and do the little networking there, as well as them themselves doing networking with each other at the events, because you can meet a painter that needs, or a general contractor that needs a painter, and wow, hey, are you available? Yeah, I'm available. It's like, cool, let's change each other's information. And so it's a good way of networking and keep America, keep Washington growing as far as having businesses work together and have a successful business. So that's what I
And
like.
Julie, what was that date again?
That is Friday, March 17th, Wenatchee at the Wenatchee Valley College. We should be releasing that this week, if not this week, for sure Monday, but I will have flyers available. And like I said, if anyone wants to contact me, I will definitely get those electronically to you, but we should have flyers going out. We just went to print, I believe it was on Wednesday. So hopefully those will be going out in the next week, but we will do an electronic blast as well to our listserv, letting people know in the Wenatchee area. Hopefully that'll catch some people, but thought I'd give an opportunity to do a shout out here too. So if those that are interested or know of anybody that would be interested in attending, either, like I said, shoot me an email or look at our website, and that date and location is on there.
And I'm going to get with Julie later on, and we'll schedule a Facebook Live interview to hopefully kind of do a push out of the event for our Okanagan County plus our Central Washington region to be able to learn a little bit more about that event. Julie, is there a cost associated?
No, not at all. When it comes to
Not at all.
contractor training, it is completely free, and everybody and anybody is welcome to attend. So if you're a contracting business and let's say you do the hands-on work, but your spouse does the administrative work, both of them can come. If your mom is involved, bring her too. Those kind of things. But we also found that lately other businesses besides the event is actually geared towards contractors, but we find that other businesses also can benefit from the program because, different business, like let's say a restaurant or I don't know, a drugstore or whatnot, they also have to deal with safety. They also have to deal with taxes. They also have to deal with, having a safety plan. So all of that information is available for them. But like I said, it's geared towards contractors, but little tweaking here and there and asking the presenters, the subject matter experts, what they can change or what they can do or make connections with other people in the programs that can help them is ideal.
And are the classes capped in terms of people per class, or how many people can attend from one business?
It all depends. No, for as many people, no, for those that want to bring more than one person. So let's say, for example, a business wants to bring a few employees, maybe some supervisors, maybe some managers, or maybe all of the employees themselves, depending on what the subject is that they want them to be learning from. So they're more than welcome to come. We are starting to see, we've never done this before, of having to turn people away, but in January, we had one in Tumwater. We had over 250 people show up. We just had one last Friday in Vancouver, and again, another 200 and some odd people registered. And so we got a little spooked because at headquarters, we know our building very well, but when we go to the different locations, we rely on the colleges in the area. So I work with the coordinators and making sure that I have rooms big enough for my smallest possible classes, but there are some classes that just shot up. I had one particular subject that had 90 people register for that particular class. I wasn't expecting 90 people, so it was a little hard trying to get a room big enough for them, but we try to get them. We do know about, because of the fact that it's free, everyone's excited about coming, but something comes up, either in a business emergency or a family emergency, and so they may not show up. So we do see about 20% of people don't show up, but we also accept walk-ins. So that kind of washes it a little bit. But in the past, we've had maybe 180 people show, but now we're well over 200. So yeah, we are starting to see a need to cap on some of the classes at the event, but we really try really hard not to, because we want to be available for everyone across the state with our information. What we have available in Vancouver, we want to have it available in Wenatchee. What we have in Wenatchee, we want to have available in Mount Vernon, Spokane, Tri-Cities, everywhere. So we want consistency across the state. So our particular program and core presenters travel throughout the state. We do about 9 of them a year. And it does take some time to coordinate them. So the only times that we don't do them is July and August. July and August is prime contractor time to be out there doing your work. So we don't normally do them, but we try to, once a month hit some part of Washington State in order to let them know we're out there and helping promote safety and successful businesses.
Well, and I think that that's one of the key things about us, partnering, the Economic Alliance partnering with L&I to really try to help businesses know that there's programs and there's people like all four of you guys that are here and available to our small businesses to help them through the process to contact directly. You're hosting events, you're also holding different types of trainings to really just, again, help them so that they don't find themselves in a situation where they're paying more premiums or, because again, a lot of businesses, it's all about their bottom line. And if they practice safety and had Mitch come out and review their workplace and was able to see, some of the improvements or some of the recommendations and they implemented that, then maybe they wouldn't have the accidents or they wouldn't have some of those things. So I think that, this was a great presentation. And again, I appreciate all of you guys for being here. I actually triggered some other ideas for some other interviews that I think we could have some more in-depth conversations specifically that could help some of our small businesses as we move forward. So thank you all. I again apologize for the upfront, Julie, your presentation and the craziness that kind of went on with that. But I appreciate your time and effort and being here today. And good luck, Mitch, at State Wrestling.
Yeah, thanks. I'll look for you guys are Okanagan, right? The club?
Yes.
Pretty big
Yes.
club. All right.
They're
We'll see you.
they're B, 2B.
2B.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, good luck.